Tabitha.
You know, when I was out here looking for an interesting and fresh perspective, I noticed, of course, we have sports reporters from all over the U.S. here, and I was able to find a reporter. His name is Mark Whicker. He used to work for the Orange County Register, but now he works for the Los Angeles Daily News, and he's actually been covering Kobe since he was just out of high school in the mid-90s. So I caught up with him, and I asked him for a little perspective on what's happening.
Yeah, I first saw him when he was 17 after he'd signed with the Lakers, and he played in a summer league game against NBA players in Long Beach, and I think he scored 26 points in 21 minutes, and everybody at that point knew what greatness was going to be ahead of him, and I think he even surpassed that with the championships he won. But it was really the way he played and the ultimate competitor that he was, and the way he affected people. I really do think, and we were talking about this earlier, I really do think he's the most popular athlete in the history of Los Angeles. In terms of the intensity that people felt about him, I can't imagine what Laker fans are feeling. He was just beginning to really carve out his identity as an ex-player. He had a lot of great projects going on, very few of which had to do with the NBA. He was going to touch a lot more lives really as an ex-player than he did as a player, and the fact that that's gone and he's only 41 is a really hard thing to believe.
What's maybe one of your favorite memories that you have of covering him?
Yeah, I just remember in 2000 when he threw a lob pass to Shaquille O'Neal against Portland in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals that allowed them to go to the finals and win their first championship. And, you know, Shaq and Kobe kind of butted heads throughout their career. They weren't terribly close, but until it came time to win. And the fact that I remember the expression on Shaq's face after he dunked the ball and it appeared that the Lakers were going to win, and they hugged each other, and you know, and just dealing with him day to day. I mean, he was ferocious, a ferocious competitor. He was hardcore. He was a tough guy, and wanted to be the best that he possibly could be. That's the example that he set. But then after he retired, he really mellowed, and I think the best thing about him is what a family man he was, and those 4 daughters were everything to him, and they were, you know, in fact, he said more than once, said, I don't go to many Laker games because my daughters are always playing. I'd rather see them play. It's just so difficult and so unbelievable that somebody like that could be taken at this stage of his life.
And there's a passage that's going around from Kobe Bryant's book called The Mamba Mentality, and I wanted to share it with you because I feel like it's really powerful, even if you're not necessarily a sports fan or a basketball fan. It says, I remember as a kid, I got my first real basketball. I loved the feel of it in my hands. I was so enamored with the ball that I didn't actually want to bounce it or use it because I didn't want to ruin the pebbled leather grains or the perfect grooves. I didn't want to ruin the feel. I love the sound of it too, the tap, tap, tap when a ball bounces on the hardwood, the crispness, the clarity, the predictability, the sound of life and light. Those are some of the elements that I love about the ball, about the game. They were at the core, at the root of my process and craft. They were the reasons that I went through all that I went through, put all that I put in, and dug as deep as I dug. It all came back to that special tap, tap, tap I first grew infatuated with as a boy. Pretty powerful stuff there, Misha, Jason. Again, there's a lot happening. I know there's a lot for everyone to process, but you have to remember the legacy that he left behind. And even as he left the court and was entering his second act, he was really about helping others and just spreading love and joy and happiness.
And such mentorship as well. Tabitha, thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.